Hello. We are back with another episode of Turn the Paige podcast. And this week, we are going to dive into another segment of Book Club Fridays because I have read some really wonderful books in the last few weeks, as well as gone through an entire emotional roller coaster watching The Summer I Turned Pretty. So sit down, buckle up, grab your favorite beverage, and we're going to dive in, friends. So I have to start with The Summer I Turned Pretty because I am obsessed with this show. I have watched so many of the cast interviews, so many clips online over and over and over again. I am so excited that they announced that there is going to be a movie coming. And even though I am super impatient, I cannot wait to see what they create moving forward. But because I love the show so much, I decided to read the books because I had never heard of the books before the TV show came out. And I'll be completely honest, when I first watched the show, I was a little late to the game, but loved it from the very beginning. I loved the acting, the storytelling, and the emotional depth that these characters were given. I resonated so much with Laurel and Susanna's friendship. I had my heart broken and fell in love with these characters all at the same time. And so coming into season 3, it was painfully hard to have to wait week by week by week to watch these episodes. But I did it. I did it religiously. And it led me to wanting to read the books to see where it all began. And I will preface this by saying I am not a huge young adult reader. And so I think that if I would have read the books first, I may not have been as excited to watch the show. I think Jenny Han is very talented. I think that the books are great for what they are made for. And I love the most, more than anything, that these books, these young adult books, have been taken and created into this TV show that adds so much more emotional depth to the storyline, to the characters. And specifically the acting that these young actors do to portray that emotional depth and the character arc in its entirety, because they're messy, obviously, like very messy. That's why we all love it. We love the drama and the messiness and the chaos of it. And even though we look at it and we see it as like a train wreck in motion, we can't stop watching. We can't stop watching. But I think that that's such a testament to how Jenny Han has taken these books, all 3 of them, taken these books that she wrote and created more from them. And I think that that's what is so beautiful. I feel like a lot of times when I watch TV shows or movies based on books, I feel like I get less. I get less out of that experience than I do from reading the books. And I feel like with this, it's been the opposite. I have gotten more from this story and from these characters by watching the show than I did from reading the books. I'm going to be completely honest. I was kind of annoyed, like annoyed by the characters in the books. And I think it was just like their immaturity, and that's their age. That's, a young adult character arc. It's going to be more immature because they are young adults. And so as a 33-year-old woman, that's just like not as entertaining for me. How they have translated that into this TV show, is so incredible. And again, testament to Jenny Han, testament to the writers, testament to these actors and the way that this whole thing has been created. It's phenomenal to me, and I'm so impressed by it. What I loved the most was being able to see how they've grown, to see their growth and to see it in a realistic way, even when obviously there are unrealistic things that are kind of happening and taking place. I have been team Conrad from the beginning, but I'll be honest, in the books, I don't think I was team anybody. I don't think I was team anybody until like maybe the third book. And then I was like, okay, I see it. I feel it. But in the show, like Team Conrad from day one. And I think that how Christopher Briney portrays the emotional turmoil that Conrad as a character is going through from season 1 to season 3, and you see where he starts with his panic attacks and depression and navigating his grief to being a man that is in therapy, having honest conversations, has a friend that is a female that he is not sexualizing, or it just feels very comfortable with. And his dedication and loyalty in the way that he shows up to love Belly is what I have learned as a woman in her 30s is something that we learn to appreciate so much more as we age versus the codependency, love bombing, telling us what we want to hear, abandoning ourselves, always needing to be together, that like clingy kind of love that Jeremiah and Belly have. And again, how they've all portrayed that in the show and portrayed their growth is so freaking cool. I text my cousin, her and I were like texting back and forth as we were watching the season finale, completely like, freaking out. And I was like, I absolutely love the honest and vulnerable conversations that are taking place while this finale is unfolding. Like conversations that were so necessary, because most of the time, what do we see in Hollywood depicted? We see the breakup, the grand gesture, the makeup, the happily ever after. And I think with this, the ways in which they did it, the conversations that they had, it depicted the drama, it depicted the messiness. It also depicted this ability to be able to like clear the air and be very vulnerable and be very honest and like ask really hard questions. And they had valid fears moving into it. They had valid reasons to want to hold back, like speaking for Belly, in my opinion. This is all my opinion and my perspective on, what was taking place. And I think the way in which they realize how they love each other and that they are choosing to love each other was just really powerful and really, really, really well done. I literally cannot wait for this movie to come out to be able to see the extension of their story and how it continues to unfold. Because again, I feel like typically when we have a movie or a TV show based on books, we get less from it. We still like it, we can still enjoy it, but like the books always have so much more substance. And I feel like it's the opposite with this. I feel like the TV show and then what will be the movie is giving us more substance than what I got out of Jenny Han's books. And I think she has a really beautiful gift. Jenny Han is a really beautiful gift. Obviously she's created these books, multiple books that people have fallen in love with, and that is what has gotten her to this point. But I think, in my opinion, the writing, the way that she directed, I think it was like episode 5 of season 3, what she has infused into this storyline and the way that she has been a spearhead in this whole process, phenomenal. Like phenomenal TV. And again, Lola Tongue, Gavin, Christopher Briney, I like even Steven and Taylor's storylines, I just thought were so cool and so well done. And again, the messiness was there, but also the vulnerability, the honesty, the self-awareness, the emotional intelligence. Like, hello, if I had that kind of emotional intelligence in my early 20s, wow, would things be different? And I think that when people become so enamored with this entertainment, it's such a beautiful thing. But like also, I don't know, I feel like people can also be super hypercritical. Like the expectations can get really, really high. And it's like, you know what? Like these people put their heart and soul into this stuff. And obviously, we're all talking about it. We're all feeling these emotional responses to their work for a reason. Let's just celebrate that. And yeah, there's going to be things that we don't like. There's going to be things that have happened. But I feel like in the last season specifically, all of these things had to happen for a reason. Because if I could go back and change anything, it would be that the season 2 of Jeremiah and Belly like never would have happened to begin with. But again, I love how it ended. I love how it played out. They did such a phenomenal job. And I'm probably going to continue to keep talking about it. I'm glad that I read the books, but also, like I said, thoroughly, thoroughly have enjoyed the television show more than I enjoyed the books. And that's okay. I own that. And that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Now, the next book that I want to talk about is Wildcard by Elsie Silver. And this is the 4th book in the Rose Hill series. And this book was about the couple Bash and Gwen. And I enjoyed it. I think I rated it a 4-star. I didn't get as enamored with this book and this couple as I had others in the past. But I really did enjoy the banter. Elsie Silver writes great banter. She writes great smut. I just felt like this one was a little bit more predictable. And with it being age gap and ex-boyfriend's dad, like I think I expected a little bit more, I don't know, maybe like tension and suspense. Like I don't know. I think maybe like some more surprises in the plot line. But all in all, like she's a phenomenal writer and she has also been greenlit for Rose Hill, the whole Rose Hill series to become a TV show. Super freaking excited about that. And then her Chestnut Springs series has also been greenlit for a TV series. So cannot wait. Cannot wait to see what comes of that because these 2 series are some of my absolute favorite work. And I think that she is a phenomenal, phenomenal author. And in Wildcard, like I said, it's the whole trope of ex-boyfriend's dad. And there's like extra complications there with that. It's not like a standard, father-son relationship. And she is a yoga instructor. So I thought that was cool that she incorporated like her meditation practices and yoga into the storyline because I am all about that. Lots of talk about the chakras. And I think that was super fun. Clyde is another side character that is very important to their storyline. And he is hilarious and he is phenomenal. And I loved every bit of him being a part of this story. I have loved him being a part of this entire series. And it was so cool to be able to understand more of his background and where he came from and how he came to be known as Crazy Clyde. It's definitely spicy and their banter was pretty spicy and pretty good. Gwen is very sarcastic, which I like, but she's also very empowered in her own way. They have a lot of the same wounds, her and Bash, about not being good enough. And so it was cool to kind of see them overcome that together. Bash is very moody, broody, grumpy. And I feel like, again, Elsie Silver writes that very well. But I definitely oh, Luna's on to something. There must be someone or something outside. It's okay. Lay down. Who knows? But yeah, wasn't one of my top books, but was definitely good, enjoyable, and a perfect way to like round out this really, really great series. Like I said, I think I rated it a 4-star. And I can't wait to see what happens with this TV show. Hopefully, I feel the same way. I mean, I love these books and they have a lot of substance, and I hope that we get even more of that, even more of the emotional depth from the TV series. Wouldn't that be fantastic? It'll be great to see who they cast as all of these characters too, because I always have like visions in my mind and I'll envision certain people as certain characters. And I have a secret Pinterest board that I'll like pin characters that I envision in my mind for books that I'm reading. And then I can like look at them and then like really visualize them acting out the scenes. That's my like visual creative brain at work there. But yeah, once again, Elsie Silver, she knows how to write a book, let me tell you. And the last book that I want to talk about today is a book by Lucy Score, and that book is called Story of My Life. And the main characters in it are Hazel and Campbell, which they call Cam. And this book was so freaking funny. Like, it was kind of ridiculous in moments, but it was so funny because when Lucy Score marketed this book, she marketed it as a mix between like Schitt's Creek and Gilmore Girls. And I love both of those shows so, so much. And so I was like, absolutely, sign me up. Let's go. And Hazel Hart is a writer she's a romance writer. And so as she moves to this small town and buys this house and hires these three Bishop brothers as her contractors, she gets to know them. She gets to know the quirky people of the town. There's like a town pet bald eagle mascot that causes chaos. And it was just so funny. It was so funny and refreshing and different. And this is the first book in a 3-book series. And yeah, I thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyed it. I would imagine, I don't know if I rated it a 4-star or a 5-star. I didn't do my research before I started recording today. Sorry, guys. But yeah, 4 or 5-star for sure. Highly recommend picking it up, and I cannot wait for the second book to come out in the spring. I loved that they have this really cool, unique family dynamic on both sides and how they relate to their families and how they fit into their family dynamics because they're very, very different from each other. And they have their own baggage. They have their own baggage and they have their own stories and they have their own versions of heartbreak that they have experienced. But the side characters, the crazy, quirky things that happen are just so entertaining and so crazy and so chaotic. The spice is great. Um, the entire adventure of her house getting remodeled and fixed. Obviously, you have the tension and you have the whole kind of like grumpy sunshine vibe going. Cam is a grumpy carpenter who moved back to town after some tragedy struck his family. And Hazel is just like coming out of a hole of depression and on a mission to change her life. And it's so cute and inspiring. And honestly, it really pushed me, like seeing her struggles to get back into the game of writing really pushed me to start writing again myself. And just being able to relate to that, I think was super, super cool. So if you love Lucy Score, you're going to love this book. If you love Gilmore Girls or Schitt's Creek, you're definitely going to love it. And I highly recommend that you go check it out. So that is all I have for you today because even though I've like this feels like a lot. I feel like I've read a lot of books in the last few weeks. I definitely haven't been reading as much as I was because number one, I've been too consumed with The Summer I Turned Pretty. And then now my daughter Macy is watching The Summer I Turned Pretty because she wanted to binge it all at once. And so I'm like, okay, she's caught the vibe. She's caught the vibe. She's caught the bug. And it's so fun to be able to share this stuff with my teenager. Like, that is a perk of having a teenager is that all of this stuff that like I loved as a kid, like I used to Gilmore Girls, Die Hard, OTH, like from the beginning. And so now it's like really fun to be able to like share something like this with her and to get to talk about it and get excited about it. And like, what did you think about this scene? And she's also reading the books. She's reading the first book right now. And so like talking about the comparisons and things like that. I think that that's what I love so much about TV shows like this and books, because it creates conversation, it creates community. For her, like watching some of these things and some of these, you know, concepts that she's consuming, whether it's related to drugs or drinking or sex, like that actually opens up conversations for her and I to have. It's conversations for us to have about emotional intelligence and self-awareness and having autonomy over your body and over your life, what healthy relationships look like, what healthy friendships look like, and where the toxicity of the early 2000s is not as present today in the way that TV shows are depicted and the storylines and how they're trying to advance those ahead. So I don't know. It makes me feel really excited. I love that she is getting into reading more and that she is getting into these shows that I also enjoy and I also love. So that's been super, super fun. And we've been doing some binging and we haven't been doing as much reading, but I have been fitting it in when I can and have hit some really really good reads, and I love that. And I would love if you would let me know if you have read any of these books or if there's something that you have read lately that I absolutely need to add to my TBR, because as you can tell, my bookshelf is not full enough. It will always continue. My love for books will never die. And I'm so grateful to have you guys here to share that with me. So until next week, I love you all. Bye-bye.